Hey, welcome to Merge PHP, everybody. Thank you very much for watching this month's presentation. Uh, so, oh, it looks like it's not showing it. We'll just do it this way. So, thank you for watching today's video. I wanted to throw together a very quick talk on Ollama. Ollama was brought up to my attention a couple of months ago at the local user group I run here in Las Vegas. And since then, I've been experimenting with it, and it's pretty neat. So, can't wait to share some of the details about it with you folks. Before we get started here, I want to just share a few slides about PHP here. Um, Let me just make sure my audio is coming through. There, we're good. Okay, fantastic. So, Merge PHP is a collaboration of user groups, basically all over the U.S. I think I'm surprised we don't have some overseas. We should, but yeah, very cool idea that was brought up. I believe it was during the pandemic that Merge PHP kind of came around. I could be wrong about that, but the fracturing of PHP is almost by nature, and what I mean by that is it being such an open source language. We have so many frameworks, we have so many user groups, and even in Vegas, we had like a Laravel user group and a PHP user group, which is what I ran. And anyway, why get so fractured? With the whole change in us now being on the open source foundation for PHP and bringing the community together, Merge PHP just added to that, collection of us all to kind of, you know, build the Megazord, if you will, and connect everything up. So, Merge PHP is a collaboration between Atlanta PHP. They're very large user group, obviously. They also, Chris always wants to shout out that we have 1-year licenses for JetBrains. So, we have a few actually JetBrains licenses. I don't think last month's was claimed. So, even if you're not watching this live, email Chris here or email myself, which I'll have my email here coming up here in a minute, and we'll hook you up because we have quite a bit. And in fact, today's talk about Ollama, I'm going to be using a JetBrains product to show you a pretty neat plugin. So, shout out Atlanta PHP user group. We also have Boston PHP run by Bobby. Great user group as well. Lots of members. I just went out to Boston actually, and shoots, I should have hit you up. I went to go see a Red Sox game because my kid's a huge Red Sox fan. So, go Sox. Of course, the infamous Austin PHP user group. So typically, Longhorn hosts their conference in Austin every year. However, this year was skipped because there is a Laravel conference, I believe, happening in Dallas around the same time that they were going to, maybe it's Houston, but they were going to happen around the same time as Longhorn. And, when you have multiple conferences like that so close together, attendance is going to be kind of iffy. So, in the infinite wisdom of Ian, decided to kick off a different region, which is Cascadia PHP. It was a conference in the past, and they're resurrecting it, and it's going to be bigger than ever. We'll talk a little bit more about it here in a minute, but Austin PHP rocks. We love everything that they've done for the PHP community and all the great things that they've contributed. So, we're going to talk about Seattle PHP, run by one of my ops, Tim. No, I'm joking. He's a good dude. The only person with a elephant collection larger than mine. So, It's what it is, but Tim, you'll never have this guy. I'm sorry. The infamous PHP Vegas one. Maybe I'll throw you in my will or something. We'll see. But anyway, Seattle PHP is awesome, and we love Tim, and in fact, I'm sure PHP. We should get together. I'll talk with the organizers of Cascadia, but we should get together some marketing towards Seattle PHP, because I'm sure some of the users could make it out to Portland, which is where Cascadia PHP is to be held in October. We also have PHP Vancouver, so another awesome user group, and then Vegas PHP, now known as Vegas Programmers, because we talk about all different types of things, but we still have the core PHP backbone of our user group and constantly talk about developing things there. So I've been running the group for over 15 years now. Love it. When I was in college, there was no programmers. If I would do a mentor, build off of the shoulder of giants, if you will. So that's why I started it, and that's why I'll keep it going. So that way we can raise information developers. If you're in the Vegas area, hit me up. You can get a hold of me at OG Programmer, or better yet, just email me at josh@remotedevforce.com. And yeah, I can always hook you up with a JetBrains license, or if you're coffee. We also have KC PHP user group. So you're in the area, hit them up. We got Utah, also a great group run by Mark, San Diego. I believe that one's still rocking and rolling. And then we've got, hey, speak of the Cascadia, we've got PHP user group. So let's pull up the page real quick for Cascadia. I want to briefly shout out that Cascadia PHP is going to be October 24th through the 26th. It's going to be an awesome lineup of tutorials and just like all great conferences. I'm sure that if you want to grab early bird tickets, I believe you can just go here and grab your ticket now. I'm not sure actually how the format is going to be, whether they're going to do tutorials first day. They may mix them in during the day, but it's going to be an awesome. You want a down to the roots, homegrown, building networks, getting to know, fellow-minded developers, and really just, trying our ever-changing technology space. Cascadia is going to be the place to go. So definitely grab tickets ASAP. Other than developers. Sorry, I'm trying to read the comments here too. Online conferences, I'm not totally sure. I know that there was one a little while. I forgot the name, but if any of the with Merge PHP are around, please let Metlin know about that, because I believe that maybe the Laravel one might be, but if I'm not mistaken, I know Longhorn had streaming, so Cascadia very well may. But more details will be released soon. I would just say stay tuned, because these talks very well may go as well if you can't make it. So shout out Elena, and yeah, so it's all of us. And if you have a local user group, give us a shout out. Join Merge PHP. There's no barrier to entry as long as you're running a free an open, knowledge sharing community for like-minded PHP developers in your local area. By the way, if you are considering starting a user group area, hit us up. Like, why try to stumble over trying to figure out knowledge on how to do that? In fact, we've talked a little bit about, putting together a guide and like tips and tricks for creating your own user group and things like that. I don't think we've gotten around to it, but we should definitely. And yeah, like I said, Chris, or you can email me as well, josh@remotedevforce.com. Yeah, we will hook you up with a 1-year license. This is out of date. Let's take a look, actually. PHP. Anytime I want to look up end of life something, I just put the name of it in EOL. I was looking up Debian the other day. So where are we at? Okay, so recently, actually, I just upgraded to 8.2, which was funny because this client's been on 7.4 forever. Let's get this updated, and we finally made the jump. So, and it looks like we're gonna have to make the jump soon. We'll be 8's now done. If you're on 8.1, you got till January 2026, so you've got time. As long as you're in the 8.1 or above range, you've got a lot of grace period here. So, I still on. It's kind of crazy. I'm sure it's to admit. This is probably also out of date, but let's see. We've got Poland. We've got Cascadia, which we just talked about. Form PHP in Paris. Looks like Midwest PHP is coming up very soon. So if you're in that area, check that out. There's Laracon, and like I said, I think there's Laravel or Laracon happening in Austin or whatever, Texas somewhere. You've got International PHP Conference in Munich coming up in November, Vienna in December, Berlin, and then the Dutch PHP Conference in March, I believe next year in Amsterdam. That would be cool to go to. Get out of date. Yeah, I guess some meet others in the community. That's by far my favorite part of going to conferences, PHP conferences since 2012. It's great to learn stuff. It's by far much more satisfying to meet and really shake the hands of some great people out there in the community, and some absolute legends too, like Sarah and many others out there. So learn about PHP and related topics. It's going to be in the heart of Portland, so I'm probably going to be Ubering on that first day to check stuff out myself. And then, meet 5G aficionados. Actually, this should say meet 5G and airplane. And then take stride in the iconic teal carpet. I have no idea what that means, but that's in here. And coffee day. I can't complain about that. That is my favorite. Coffee. In fact, I wish I had some. I'm nice and awake. I got good sleep last night, people. So we're good. So yeah, if you want to connect with us, like I said, we're on X, we're on Mastodon, we are on all the things. So add us if you want to catch what's coming up. If you'd like to do a talk, go to our website at mergephp, and I believe it's mergephp.com or .co. Let me double check that. Mergephp.com. Yeah. Go to mergephp.com. If you want to speak, click this right here. Speaker signups. It'll go to a Google form here, which apparently doesn't work. We don't care about certificates for this, right? Let's just visit the website. All right, I gotta get somebody on this. I don't know why this isn't a Google form. There we go. Strange. All right, we got to fix the link on that. Anyway, so pretend that search's fine, and then yeah, you can get here. Think of it as a CAPTCHA in order to get to the form. But we want speakers. We're always looking for speakers. So jump on here, sign up, and yeah, we'll line you up with a spot in one of the upcoming months of Merge PHP. All right, so got a talk idea. Okay, this is probably the website, but yeah, seems to be busted. Anyway, go to competition. Not sure what this is about, so yeah, we're going to ignore that. All right, so I think that's it for the oh, and yes, PHP conference in Japan. Good. Yeah, let's shout that out too. PHP Japan conference. So check out. This is probably the website right here. But yeah, I've been. I spoke once at this event, and it's a fantastic event. I believe this is it. Yeah. So check them out. And yeah, if you are in Japan, that's definitely a great one to also check out. All right, so without further ado, sorry for all the warming you guys up here. I want to now do the talk on Ollama. So before we get started, just a little bit about myself. My name is Joshua Copeland. As I mentioned, I'm here in Las Vegas, Nevada, here in the US. If you ever come through, help me out, you can add me at remotedevforce.com. It's my freelancing development business. I've been running 2016 is really where I got serious about it. But I've been freelance ever since, and it's been great. Mainly in the AWS DevOps space, and now AI. So AI, obviously, over the last few years has completely exploded. And, I think a lot of people have been hopefully starting to use these tools if you're a developer. But it's getting even more advanced, right? So at the beginning, we had, ChatGPT. Now Google's kind of came out with Bard, and Meta's got their own thing too. A lot of these different, let's call them commercial LLMs, right? Or language models. So they're great. But the one caveat is technically you're kind of thrown at ether of whatever these businesses do with your data, right? So you Copilot, hey, we promise we will put your into our AI model. There is kind of some privacy concerns, right, about using some of these commercial models. Now, they're probably you're probably fine as long as you're reading the terms of service and things like that on those, and you're like, hey, we can accept the risk. Corporations, some people who okay, hold on. We're having a sound issue. What's the sound issue? Too low, too soft, can't hear at all. Sorry, hang on. We've got technical difficulties. Choppy. Okay, hang tight. I'm gonna get rid of this guy, and let's switch the mic. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. Audio. Okay. Let me jump off. I'll be right back. Hang on. Is it better? Really? Tell me if that's good. Can you guys hear now? Yeah? We're good? Okay. Strange. Better now. Okay, cool. All right. Sorry about that. Not sure what's going on, but yeah, it's I've got this wireless mic. I try to get fancy on my streams, but obviously something's going on there. We good? Come on, give me W's in the chat if you guys can hear me now. W's in the chat. Yes, no. It sounds clear now. Okay. All right. W. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate you. Okay. Where was I? Okay. Privacy, right? So, ChatGPT, right? It's great. And Copilot. Let me jump into some of those real quick, and then I'll go over there. So yeah, we've got ChatGPT, right? I paid for this. I ask it all kinds of questions. I mean, I've asked it everything from what's the meaning of life to, let's say, what is merge PHP? And hopefully it has an answer for it. Yeah, hey, look, it went out to the web. And anyway, the ChatGPT 4.0 model is outstanding. The only thing is if you're on the free tier, you can only ask it so much questions. It's very slow on responses, and you need to start paying $20 a month if you really want open access to this. And it's great if you want to, let's say, make images and things like that. ChatGPT also does that. However, the questions I'm tossing this thing at it, I'm sure, are getting scooped up into the ether of what is ChatGPT, right? So technically, what I put in here could be, let's say, IP for ChatGPT to use for building their model and making it better. Some people have privacy concerns about that. But if you want something very easy that just works, that's not complicated, then this is the way to go, right? Like, if you're not concerned about privacy and you just want something that works at the end of the day, this is by far one of the easiest things to do. So I'll talk a little bit more about this here in a second, but that's that. And then there's Copilot. So Copilot I've been using since it went out in beta, and it's outstanding. However, it's also paid product at the end of the day. So again, I've talked with people who work with Copilot, and they claim, nothing like your code bases that are being consumed by Copilot are being put into like a localized in a private model that's for you and will not be like exposed to other people asking questions and things like that. But could still be concerns, like if your company is highly sensitive, you're in the financial industry and things like that, maybe you're hesitant to jump into some of these sorts of let's call it like commercial LLMs. Well, that's where Ollama comes in. So Ollama is something that, like I said, came under my purview a couple of months ago, and it's pretty cool. Essentially, it's a way for you to run your own local AI model. So if you wanted to run any sort, and we'll talk a little bit about this in a second, but if you want to kind of run your own ChatGPT, if you will, on your local machine, then this is what you definitely need to take a look at. Ollama has the ability to run any open source model that you throw at it. So let me jump back over to here my slides, and we'll kind of briefly talk about this. So like I said, Ollama is really a way for you to run your own LLMs on your local machine, but it doesn't stop just there. The one caveat about running Ollama on your local machine is if you're running an old computer, this thing is going to take a while to give you responses, right? These large language models have, these nodes that need to run. And depending on the size of the amount of nodes that exist in the model, could be 50 billion, it could be smaller, whatever, the larger the model, the more memory, the more CPU intensive it is going to be on your machine. However, Ollama is cool in the sense that, let's say you end up using this for a business use case. For example, I just caught wind of this guy. I think his name is Peter Levels. Yeah, Levels.io, this guy. Yeah, this guy. So I just saw talk, and this guy is killing it. So he had this idea of starting a business once a month, like starting a startup. And he ended up starting some AI ones, and some of those are absolutely killing it. It's making 150,000 a month off of some of these, right? And some of these are based off of open source models that he's just extended himself. Now he's not running it on a machine sitting at his house. You can take Ollama, take these models and put them into your own cloud. So you can run it on your AWS, GCP, whatever type of infrastructure, right? So it doesn't just stop there with running these models on your local machine. However, the models, some of the models are small enough that you shouldn't have too much of a problem running them. So for example, I have a little demo I want to do here, but before we get to that, I just want to show you, where do I find these quote unquote models? There's a website called huggingface.co. Don't ask me why it's named that, but that's the name of the website. And Hugging Face has a ton of models. Think of this as the packagist of AI models that exist out there. Okay. So there are models anywhere from taking text to images, taking an image and putting it into text, redoing an image, turning an image into a video, text classification, you name it. There's tons and tons of different types of models that you can download that are open source, right? We all love open source. So very, very cool. I will say I've only scratched the surface when it comes to messing around with some of these models. And towards the end of this talk, I'm going to actually do a little bit of playing around with you folks on the text to image one and things like that. But we'll save that for the end, because that's the part that I haven't necessarily planned out. So there could, as with any great demo, I'm sure that'll crash and burn. But that's where you'll go to find models, okay? Tons and tons of great models there, and I've downloaded a few of them. So again, we've talked about, you know, what the difference is here already, but just as a heads up, Ollama is completely free, right? I'm paying $0 right now to run Ollama, and I'm going to show you how to replace Copilot. So that way you don't need to be paying $10 a month, which I still am. I'm probably going to be canceling it here now that I've got Ollama running. But that just wanted to throw that out there, that I'm going to now show you a demo where we're going to take JetBrains. I've installed Copilot on JetBrains, and I've been running that for years, or whatever, a year now or more. And it's great. Copilot's great. But again, all of my data could be getting sent up to them. Privacy issues could, you know, some of you who are a little bit more skeptical of these large corporations can totally get why Ollama will be a huge benefit to, you know, squashing those concerns for you. So now I'm going to show you this little blog post here, and I've already kind of gone through the steps, but I just want to show you how you can install Ollama on your local machine, and then how you will install a plugin to use that Ollama on your JetBrains IDE or Visual Studio's Code, by the way, VS Code, which is an outstanding IDE as well. I prefer JetBrains, not because they sponsor us, just because I've been using it forever and I like it. Sorry, I hope that didn't screw up the audio there. So let's jump right into it. So there's this blog here that talks about the Continue Code Assistant. And before you go through this, just make sure you have Ollama installed. It's very easy. You just go to download, you click whatever you're using, download it, install it, and at that point, you'll get a little Ollama icon like this on your machine. Okay, well, you can't see it actually, but or maybe you can. But anyway, there's Ollama's running, but there's no UI for Ollama. It's a CLI tool, okay? So in order to pull down some of these models, you'll need to, hang on one second. Let me reshare my screen here because it's not showing my terminal. Sorry, one second. Remove, present, share screen, window, entire screen. All right, here we go. Perfect. Okay, sorry about that. I was only sharing my window, not the whole screen. Okay, so what you'll need to do is you install Ollama, and then from there, it kind of works like Docker, right? If you ever used Docker before, the whole like, okay, pull an image down, that sort of thing, very much the same. In fact, I think under the hood, it's pretty much a Docker-esque style system. So in the beginning, what I did is I ran Ollama, run llama 3.1, and you can see in kind of a Docker-esque fashion, it's pulling down these layers, manifests, and then it gives you a prompt at the end. So maybe just to quickly kind of show you what that looks like, let me, oh, I'm actually in the StarCoder one right now. So just to save some time, let's just use this one. So let me blow this up a little bit so you can see. So I'm going to ask it like just like any sort of prompt in, you know, your typical chat GPT or anything like that. It's asking for a prompt. So we're going to put here, what is the best programming language? And why is it PHP? Oh, what? You do me dirty. Python, Java, C++? Come on. Those are all great language. Well, Python's a great language and C is. JavaScript, I have a love-hate relationship with, and I haven't touched Java in a while. So, but anyway, so you can see when you run Ollama, you get this prompt here, right? Just like you would. But how do I get this prompt working in my IDE to help me with coding tasks? Well, that's where Continue, this plugin called Continue comes into play here. So let me show you that real quick. So Continue has a plugin for both VS Code and JetBrains. You would install that just like any other plugin. You would open up your IDE, go over to Settings, go to Plugins, and then just go to the Marketplace tab and search Continue and install that, okay? This is what their little logo looks like here. Install that, and that's step one, okay? Once you've got the Continue plugin installed, you do need to configure it. So you'll need to click Configure here, this little gear icon. In fact, let me show you here. Right here on the right-hand side is kind of your extensions for JetBrains, right? So you can see here I got Copilot. But then down here, once you install Continue, we've got Continue here, okay? So once you have that installed, click the little gear icon here, and that'll bring up this config JSON. And this is where we're going to configure the Continue plugin to use my local Ollama configuration, okay? So here in this blog post, it does kind of show you how these steps work. First, you'll want to run Ollama run code stral. That will pull down the model. Mind you, these models are anywhere from 4 gigabytes to 20 gigabytes. They're large models, hence large language models, right? It's a big AI model that you're downloading. Once you have it installed, then you will want to then open up that gear icon like I showed you and edit to use this, this model here. So there are two sections you'll need to fill out in your config JSON. It's this tab auto completion and the model section here. From the way I gather this, you can use multiple models. I didn't get that far into this demo to demonstrate that, but it is possible that if you want, like, quote unquote, the best output, you could very well toss in additional models to beef up the amount of models you're using locally. You can also create custom commands. Another one that is pretty neat. If there's typical tasks you do, for example, you create a lot of tests. You could very well just highlight a chunk of code, give it the command /test, and then it will automatically execute to go write tests. Now, really, underneath the hood, custom commands are really just prompts. So here you can see the prompt. Like I could just very well ask the same question without having to run this command. Write a comprehensive test of unit tests of the selected code, and then it should set up and do it. But instead of having to write this every time I want to create tests, you can create your own custom commands with that prompt to make your life easier. Pretty cool, right? So there's other things in here to edit comments, a bunch of different things like slash. The way you run commands is you put slash and then you can run these different things here. So if you want to just commit real quick, /commit, share, all this kind of stuff, right? So anyway, I'm kind of getting off track here. So anyway, configure the model, right? Put that there after you've got that, and then move on to the next step here. Once you get that model installed, and you can verify that, because once you actually call that Ollama run code stral, it'll put you into the prompt. So once you're in the prompt here, then okay, success, right? That's what you're looking for. You've pulled down the model successfully. Now in your IDE, save this config JSON, and now you've got it working. And what's even cooler is continue comes with this little quick tutorial that we're going to talk about here right now. So let's blow this up a little bit and I'll show you how this works. So the tutorial is pretty basic. There's one that's going to show you how to ask a question, and then another one how that shows how to edit code. Okay. So the first one here, it says step 1, highlight the function below. So here's this mysterious function. We have no idea what it does. This looks like some code that Tim Bond wrote. So let's go ahead and let's highlight it. And we're going to use the Command J as this keyboard shortcut to automatically take this chunk of code and put it into my continue AI prompt. So I'll hit that. And now you can see here on the right-hand side for the continue plugin, it's copied this chunk of code as context. And now I can ask it any question, right? So here it gives you a couple of example questions we can ask. What does this function do? What should I call this function? So let's go ahead and do that. What does this function do? And mind you, this is running on your local machine, okay? You're not running it in ChatGPT that has a bajillion freaking nodes that can run this like in an instant. These prompts take a while to come back, okay? So it is a con of this. If you're running a really beefed up machine, you will get snappy results back. But as you can see, I'm just now getting results back from asking that question. However, from a privacy standpoint, none of this went into the ether that is the internet. This is all, this chunk of code I just highlighted got put into my local AI model, and the answer is being generated by my machine, okay? I could unplug the internet right now and kill this stream and it would still give me back this prompt, right? I'm not gonna do that, but I could. So here you can see it gave me, what it thinks this is doing. It iterates over elements. It's a nested loop, and return something. So in summary, this function sorts an input list of numbers using a bubble sort algorithm and then returns a sorted list. Fantastic. So I'm sure if I asked what should I call this function, it would probably say bubble sort or something like that. But yeah, we can go ahead and ask that. What should I call this function? And as you can see here in a very chat GPT-esque style, we have a context. This is our context window here. So after each question I ask, it's building off of what I asked, and we can continue to ask questions to kind of build this context window right here. So as I suspected, it says, yeah, we should call it bubble sort. And then we'll say the developer who wrote this is named Tim Bond. Why did he do this to me? I'm more curious what this is going to spit out. I'm an assistant AI model. I don't have personal experiences or feelings. The developer named Tim Bond likely didn't do this. Fantastic. You got to love some AI answers every now and then. Anyway, so that's kind of the whole how do I ask a question in my IDE. And again, this was 100% free, right? I didn't have to pay a nickel for this. I'm not having to hand out $10 a month to Microsoft and GitHub. I'm not having to cough up $20 a month to OpenAI and all that. I am literally running this for $0, right? How great is that? Now, mind you, you're like, if you want cutting edge, like, and a big model, snappy responses, ChatGPT and GitHub Copilot are fine. Those are great tools to experiment with. But let's say you travel a lot. You're on the train, spotty internet, you're on the plane, you want to pay $1,000 or whatever to get internet. You can run all of this locally. You could literally have no internet, run your own AI model, and still code with productivity tools like this. Okay, so there are benefits. Let's jump into the other big feature of Continue and Ollama, which is not just asking a question, but providing the ability to refactor code and provide suggestions. So here's part 2 of the tutorial. You would highlight a chunk of code just like we did earlier, but instead we can do Command I instead of Command J, and it will give us a couple of prompts here. So I'm going to do that. I did that, and now we've got like a question block right here in our code. So instead of having it tucked away here and not really in line with what I'm doing, now we've got it kind of built into our IDE code file, if you will, right? So in here, we can say something like optimize this function and hit submit. And it will start to think about best ways to optimize this. Again, local AI model. I've got all kinds of stuff running on this machine, so it's going to take a little bit, but it will eventually get back to us. And you'll see it here kind of churning through and giving us some ideas about what we can do here. So here it is. It threw, and it highlights whatever it's going to change here is going to get highlighted in green. So you can see right now it's adding some comments. And then here it's saying optimized bubble sort. So it's renaming the function. It's now providing us a swapped Boolean value, it looks like. So it's instead of just like churning through every single integer in this range, now it's has this kind of way of breaking out early and making this function a little quicker. So fantastic. Now, once it shows you the screen stuff, it's not in your code yet. You can either hit no or you can hit yes here to accept the changes. So if we hit no, then that's it. Like, it's like, okay, sorry, bro. And that's it. You could ask it the question again, maybe in a little bit of a different way, and you'll get a little bit of a different response, right? So if I wanted to say, optimize this function, but keep the function name the same or whatever, it'll do that. In this sense, let's just go ahead and say yes, and then bam, now we've got our newly updated code all generated locally. And another example here, they say edit, write, edit some comments. I haven't ran this one, but let's go ahead. Let's try it. So Command I, and then it said edit, write comments. I don't know exactly why it's worded like that, but let's try that. Edit, write comments. I don't know what this is going to do, but we'll find out. Oh, I can hear my machine. The fan just kicked on. So obviously I'm trying to make my computer work hard right now. But anyway, you can see how this is an outstanding tool to use locally, but it does take a while. Like with Copilot, things are instant, right? If I ran this same sort of thing with Copilot, I'd already have an answer by now. I'd already have a suggestion. Copilot does have like kind of, I would say, more built-in features in the sense that if you're in like a object, it's already, and you click on a line, it's already suggesting what you should do. The way I like to use Copilot, and probably you could use Ollama in the same way, is when you're creating a new function, a new class, anything like that, create a comment that explains what you want it to do. So I want a new object that stores integers and has the ability to run bubble sort on a list of integers, right? We could write that as a comment and then give that to Ollama, give that to ChatGPT, give that to OpenAI, whatever, or Copilot. Copilot would, and Ollama as well, would generate a suggestion for you right there in your code. So hopefully you guys are already taking advantage of these AI code or AI functions and things like that, because it definitely increases your productivity. People who are still coding without these tools are not getting the same velocity of code written per day as people who are using these tools. So for whatever reason, this is taking absolutely forever, but now we're finally getting some results back here. So it looks like it just kind of rewrote my comments up here. So, and now it's adding some comments in here to better explain what's going on inside the function. Looks like it removed another comment here. Now it's throwing on comments onto the while, trying to explain better what's going on. So if you just want really verbose comments, that's, I guess, this is at the end of the day when I asked it to write comments, that's what it did. At least it didn't put a comment here on swapped equal false and swapped equal true. We should all know what that does, hopefully. So at least it didn't go to the nth degree, but it did, like some of these, it is complicated to read just this. So if the current element is greater than the next, swap them. Fantastic. That's much easier for me to read. Same deal. We can hit no, we can hit yes. If we hit no, it's just going to abandon and go right back to what our code was. So yeah, there are shortcuts you can use as well to accept and reject. I was just clicking on that just to kind of show that there is a button there to do that. And then if you want to read more about continue, they obviously have great documentation as well. So that would be docs.continue.dev. And you can start to read in more about how this stuff works. But again, continue isn't what is generating the responses. Continue is just an extension of your local Ollama language model. So that's that. That's continue. That's how you get installed. There, like I said, there's a VS Code extension as well. If for you VS Code people, I use both honestly, but you can install it on there as well and get that working on there and play around with it and see if you like it better than perhaps Copilot, what you're using right now, or you're using nothing and you don't want to pay for anything, then give this a shot. All right. So one thing I wanted to point out, and I mentioned before, is that these models don't need to just run on your local machine. You can, and as you see, self-hosted, it's not just Ollama. There are a ton of other different things you can run locally to use these open source models. However, you can also run them remotely. So all of these models here in Hugging Face, you can take any of those and launch those into your existing AWS, GCP, Azure, whatever, by using these tools to launch your models into. Or you can use a SaaS product such as Open Router, or you can run the open source LLMs on certain cloud surfaces. In fact, this guy, Levels.io, that I was talking about earlier, I heard him on a podcast recently, him talking about Replicate. So I believe he's using Replicate to run some of his models and some of the things he's built. But yeah, essentially, if you're gonna run this in the context of a production environment, you're gonna want to be able to build your model and deploy it to a cloud provider. You're going to get way faster responses too, right? If you have a beefy server or a cluster running these things, it's going to be not limited to just the RAM and CPU you have on your local machine. And it's still private in the sense that you're hosting it. You're in control of the data and the responses that come back from these AI models. All right. So we talked about how to get Ollama working locally. We talked about some of the model providers. One of the things I wanted to quickly throw out there, we're coming up at the end of the talk here. This was only supposed to be 30 minutes, but we'll go a little over. I wanted to talk about RAG. So RAG is retrieval augmented generation. The way I like to think of it is taking your own documents, images, taking your own spreadsheets, and loading that into AI. Now, this is I think this is the next level that we're at right now with AI. Using AI in the contents of a chat is cute. It's fine. But really where it becomes very powerful is when we start mixing it with real life day-to-day tasks. So for example, when we were using our IDE and we're saying, hey, refactor this in a sense is being ingested as context into our AI model, right? It's reading this chunk of code and now is thinking about what to do with it based on the question that I ask it. It's not just limited to code, right? Let's say we have a list that I pulled from Execat's blog of all the PHP frameworks that are out there. Well, we can load this into context. And in a sense, this is building our own model of this data here, okay? So when we do that, we can start to ask questions. Now, where this is really powerful is, let's say you have a spreadsheet and you wanted to create you a formula to do a specific thing on the spreadsheet to get a value that you want. But let's say you're not very good at Excel like me. It's funny. My grandfather was in civil service for like 30 years, and his only job was to write Excel spreadsheet formulas. And unfortunately, before his passing, he never taught me. So I don't know, other than like take the sum of this and the sum of that and show it in this column, I can do that. But when I have some people are Excel like masterminds. You can, there's a whole coding language built into Excel to do some amazing things. So you can very well download an AI model that is specific to Excel or specific to what you're trying to do, and get what you need out of it by just asking the question, and then it goes and does the hard work of generating the formula for you. Or in this case, I have this list of frameworks. I could say, which of these frameworks sounds like a dessert? I'm hoping this comes back with cake PHP, but we'll let this cook here for a little bit, and we'll see what it generates. But one thing I just wanted to say about this is that I have been using mainly ChatGPT for this, because running locally, this takes a while. But you can, in ChatGPT, now upload your own files to ChatGPT, and it will ingest that as context. So, for example, let's say you have a spreadsheet or a document, you can upload that and it can take in whatever is in that document. So, for example, I've got here on my desktop, I've got this document that talks about one of my little side hobbies, Pokemon, right? There's a bunch of information about the very first Pokemon card game that came out in here. I can say, hey, take a look at this document. And tell me what the second edition means. So again, this is like RAG, right? So it can ingest what's in here, and now it's giving me an idea of, based on the information that's in that document, what's likely the answer. So rather than me having to go through the whole document, and this is great for let's say the context of, like, I don't know, technical documentation that's thousands of pages long or whatever, right? You, instead of having to read it, using AI to give you summaries on this stuff. So, and it nailed it. So in this case, second edition is talking about unlimited print, which I knew, but I wanted to trip it up a little bit, asking what second edition means. And it actually went and it figured it out that it means unlimited print. We won't get into exactly what that means, but that's just a document I had on my local machine. I wish I had a spreadsheet that I could share with you folks. Unfortunately, most of the spreadsheets I have are very sensitive, so I cannot do that. But this is just something I put together, so I don't really care. But anyway, that's RAG. And one thing about that I want to mention is, like, Azure. Azure has been kind of really getting into the game now of this sort of stuff. And I think AWS and all this other stuff's kind of right along these same lines. But cloud hosting providers are getting into this game in the sense of using your databases as RAG models, right? So let's say you have a MySQL database and you have millions of records in there. Well, using that as a RAG model, you could say, hey, Azure GPT, give me all of the orders that we've had for this week. It will look at your database query. Hopefully it's using a reader and not master, because maybe, I'm not sure I would work with indexes and such. But my point is instead of you having to figure out how to write that query, you can take advantage of AI in the sense of it actually creating the query, running the query, and giving you back the results. Mind you, you could kind of do the same thing with Ollama or ChatGPT. You could say, hey, give me a query that does this. This is what my table looks like, and it will do that. But just throwing that out there, that this is kind of the next level that we're at right now of AI, right? So this is where things get exciting. One of the things that you get is images, right? So for ChatGPT, if you pay for it, I could say, give me a logo for merge PHP that has an elephant. And it uses Dolly, which is one of their products. And they're actually coming out with like a video version too. That's actually a really cute. I really like that logo. But yeah, so outstanding. But let's say you don't want to pay for a ChatGPT to make you an image. Okay, this is where the talk starts to go off the rails. Okay, so image creation. So I have not experimented this, so we're gonna do it live. But I went over to Hugging Face and I said, okay, just as we did with ChatGPT, we said, make me a logo, right? Well, I clicked text to image and I found all of these models here that can create images for us. And I clicked on this one here, Black Forest Labs. And then here I saw, here's their like README file, if you will, about the model and, the AI endpoints. This is that replicate thing that I was talking to you about earlier. You can actually put these, you can run these open source models in the cloud. This is just a SaaS provider to run the AI model for you. But I digress. So what I did is I read through this and I noticed that it mentioned the, where did it say that? Oh yeah, was it use this model? Yeah. So I clicked use this model and then I noticed here it said draw things, local apps. And I clicked draw things and then it took me to their website and I downloaded the tool and this is the tool here. Okay. So again, I'm using a local model. So I downloaded that model that I just showed you from Hugging Face. And this is the part that I'm not sure if this is going to work, but this is where we're going to see if it can figure this out. So merge PHP is a open user group for the popular programming language PHP. Can you create me a logo for our user group? Okay. So I'm just going to leave the defaults in here and I'm going to hit generate and see what happens. I have no idea what it's doing right now, but it looks cool. And sometimes that's all that matters. Okay. I hope it's not just going to create a blue image for us. I think what this is doing is hacking into the matrix. I'm not quite sure at this moment, but most likely it's generating an image for us, hopefully. So let's give it a second here. While we wait on this, let me go back here and see if we ever got a response back. Well, shoots, I spelled desserts wrong, so that's probably why I didn't catch cake PHP, which is why I was trying to see if it caught that. All have names that reflect their purpose in software development. Okay, shoots. Well, note to self, try to learn how to spell. Low resolution approximate, not the final image. Okay, is this still working? I think so. All I see is merge. I think it is still working. Interesting. Oh, it did something. Anyway, so I guess while this does its thing, let me look at the questions here in the chat. What's wrong with being assimilated by Microsoft? Self-serving AI is a new Bitcoin farm. That's funny. How do we trust that the makers and distributors of Ollama and its dependencies and packages? That's a very good question. I think in the sense of if you think about it, there could be from my understanding, none of these open source models are necessarily going to be transmitting any of your data out from your local machine. Now, maybe it's possible that there could be some sort of backdoor that some of these models might have, but I don't think that's the way it works. I will definitely look into that a bit more. I'm interested in that answer as well. If there are possible exploits of these open source AI models, but I'll definitely look at that because from my understanding, I don't think it's possible. They could very well taint the results in the model. So for example, let's say we downloaded a code model, but it only specialized in Python and not PHP or whatever. That could give us bad results. We may want to download a specific model that works well with what we're trying to do. So anyway, here's the logo it made for us. Little lackluster compared to the Dolly one, but this was free. We didn't have to pay for anything, and it gave us this logo. Probably if I put merge PHP in one line, maybe that would have been better. What's interesting about this is it broke up these into this kind of lexicon of different nodes, if you will. So each one of these, it's kind of like breaking, and that I believe that's kind of how it works when you're asking questions, and the data that these models work off of is all very like, chunk based. So it's just taking little bits of everything and putting it together and then cross-referencing it against whatever the model has to generate as best of an answer that it can. So that concludes today's talk on Ollama. Now, if you would like to see more about Ollama, I would suggest you go take a look at their website and also look at Hugging Face and experiment. Try to pull down some of these and see if you can find, some that look cool to you. But yeah, I think if anybody doesn't have any additional questions, I'll leave the chat open here for a couple more minutes. Do we have any more questions from anybody? All right. Thank you for attending this month's Merge PHP user group meeting. We appreciate all of our viewers. And again, if you would like to speak at Merge PHP, definitely, hop on our website, click the link there to fill it out. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. This is a quick talk. If you want to see more, I am putting a tutorial together, and I may or may not be presenting it at a particular conference. So stay tuned. I will be putting together a much more lengthy talk, more geared towards programming in particular. I want to experiment more with some of the more complicated OpenAI models that are out there, and more specifically for PHP as well to get better results. So yeah, stay tuned for that. I'll show you some Drupal AI plugins. Yeah, hey, I'd love to see that. I wonder if I'm sure there's got to be Drupal, and I remember Joomla. I remember playing with Joomla back in the day. I hope that's still a thing. I think Drupal pretty much took over Joomla, but maybe there's some Joomla developers out there wanting to attack me right now for saying that. I'm curious. Is Joomla still around? Yeah, it is. Hey, Joomla.org. When was their last release? Oh, wow. Okay. I take that back. Joomla is definitely still a thing. So cool. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for everybody. No Joomla. Yeah. Thank you for everybody that came out to today's talk. I appreciate you all. And stay tuned for next month. We'll try to get together another talk here. I will say, we love community talks. So if you are considering submitting a talk for a conference, the best way to get a solid talk for the conference is to get a rough draft of the talk just like I did with this one. This is going to end up being a tutorial. Obviously, the slides were lackluster, but this is the infancy of the talk, right? And I got a good question out of here. So this is a great way to share the talk from the comfort of your own home office or whatever, if you don't have a local user group in your area. So we're always looking for speakers, and I think next month might be open, if I'm not mistaken. So shoot us a message, and we'll get you scheduled up. And yeah. All right. Well, I think we're going to say bye. Bye-bye. Aloha, everybody.